Hey everyone, it's Leanne. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm creating a birthday card using the Rawrsome stamp set from Lawn Fawn, the cute dino stamp set, and this is a birthday card I made for my dad. So let's get started. I'm starting with an A2 size folded card and a piece of cardstock in mixed media that's cut a little bit shorter, a piece of blue cardstock, and then the Rawrsome stamp set from Lawn Fawn here. And then I also have some distress inks that I'm going to use. And I have Memento Tuxedo Black ink for stamping the stamps with. I have some circle blenders as well because I'm going to do those distress inks in a blended background. So to begin, I'm going to prepare the card base first. I'm going to use my tape roller and apply tape to the base or the front of the card. And then I'm going to put this down onto that blue cardstock. So this paper is a pack of paper I received or I picked up from Michael's. And so I'll put the exact color of the paper pack in the description below. It comes with 5 different blues. And so I picked the brightest blue to use sort of as the base for this and kind of to be more reminiscent of a sky. It's kind of the thought I was going with here. So I've trimmed down all the sides. When I do the folded edge, I line it up the same way, but then I pivot my knife out a little bit so I don't cut that spine. I want to make sure that that card stays intact. I have this cut. And I'm going to move on to the next bit. Now that I have this base created, I'm going to set that aside. So I'm going to work on the ink blending of that smaller card piece, that cardstock piece that you saw in the beginning of the video. And so I've laid down a sheet of just regular printer paper on my desk. So in case I go over the edge, which I will with this, I don't want to get any on my desk. And the color I'm using to start is Squeezed Lemonade. And this is from the Tim Holtz Distress Inks. And I have this on mixed media cardstock. So Strathmore is what I pick up for this. I use the pads of Strathmore mixed media paper. I get those from Michael's, so they're pretty handy for this, and they blend really nice with these inks. I'm going to work in the top half of the card because I'm also going to stamp on this mixed media paper and do my Copic coloring on it as well, so I don't want to cover up the area where I'll be applying any marker ink. But I do want to create that blended background to make the sky. So now I'm coming in with Peacock Feather, and this is kind of a blue, but more of a greenish blue. And so I'm blending that in with the Squeezed Lemonade, and when they meet, then I get that green in the middle, a nice dinosaur-y green in the sky. I'm going to come back in with the Squeezed Lemonade and just blend out that bottom line a little bit more and extend the Squeezed Lemonade just a little bit because my Peacock Feather ran a little bit low into that horizon line. To top off the top of the sky, I'm going to use Salty Ocean here. And so this is a darker blue. And so that'll help pull the colors from that greenish color of the peacock feather up into more of a sky blue with the Salty Ocean. But because that blue is a little bit darker, I want to keep it to the top and keep my lighter colors towards the horizon line, just like you'd see with the sun, for example. So it's more realistic. And so I'm just working those colors together, and this is looking pretty good. I'm going to set that aside to dry. And so I'm coming back in now that I've had a bit of time with that to dry. I usually leave it about 5 minutes. It doesn't take very long. So I have my layout kind of set up, and I've marked the center of the card. So I'm going to base everything off that center line and use the guides on my acrylic block as well when I'm stamping. So with every stamp I put on that acrylic block, I want to try to make sure that it is in the center of the line. And then I use that guide to help find center when I'm putting them down on the card as well. I'm also going to build this phrase from the bottom up. So I'm going to put my baseline first and then space out each layer of phrasing above that one by one so they're equally spaced. Now I'm going to look at putting down the dinosaurs. I'm still kind of being cautious of where the horizon line is, and I want to keep the dinos sort of into the white area more than touching into the blended ink area. I'm going to put these together as well because I was able to get everything lined up exactly how I liked it when I was kind of blocking in the layout of the stamps, and I'm not as confident that I could put that in the exact position if I stamped them individually. Now with the Volcano, that's a background element, so I don't mind that it's running into that blended ink area. But when I did stamp this, I did have a part of the splashing up part of the lava that didn't give a good impression, so I just came in with my micron pen and cleaned that up. Now I've put the party hat on the dinosaur. I'm just going to put a little string around his neck so it looks like he's actually wearing the hat and it's not just going to fly off in the wind. And so I'm just looping that underneath, and very simple, adding that extra touch. I want to put some stamps on the inside of the card too. There's these cute little dino footprints, and so I thought they'd be neat just down in the bottom corner on the inside to bring through the theme into the center of the card. So now I'm doing the Copic coloring, and I've sped this up, but I haven't cut out any of the coloring parts. So if you do want to see this in slow motion, you can slow down the playback of the video. Otherwise, I have included everything, and you can watch it just sped up here so it doesn't take as long. But you can see all the steps that I took. So I will also put the colors all listed in the description below. I'm going to start with the grass and just ground the elements. So I've used my lightest green that I'm using for the grass and put down just a little bit of a shadow patch of grass underneath each element. And I'm going to work up the shadows in the volcano next. So I'm keeping all of the colors pretty harmonious and monochromatic for the most part, just to keep the colors balanced and matching with the background. So the overall theme is really going to be those greens and those blues and a little bit of yellow. So some yellow greens in the grass and some golds in the volcano as well. I'm doing the lava next, and I'm going to do that in a brighter green. And because this is a background element, I don't want it to pop too much. I really want the dinosaurs to be the focus of the card, so I'm not going to put as many poppy colors on the volcano. So having that green will help recess it a little bit, and also it will complement with the grass colors and the blended ink in the background as well. I'm going to put a few little speckle textures on the base of the volcano. I think this looks really nice too. And they're in a monochromatic color, so again, they're not too distracting, but a little visually interesting. For my second layer of grass, I'm coming in with a brighter green. It's a little bit more saturated, a little bit darker. And I'm going to do some actual grass blades instead of just doing a patch of green like I did in the first pass. Was more of a block of color with maybe a few strokes added in to look like grass. I'm going to come in with that second layer and just do more defined grass blades. For the dinosaurs, I'm going to do them in blue. I do have blue on my card, so they'll be a little bit balanced with the rest of the scene, but with the blue that I'm using, it's a little bit more crisp and punchier than that base cardstock blue, or even that salty ocean that's at the top of the blended background. I like to start with the lightest color first. I find that if I have a nice wash of my base light color, then I can build up my shadows from there, and I find it's easier to blend the shadows when I have that base color that's lighter already laid down on the critter. Once I have that, I'm going to come in with my shadow layer next. I have a medium tone for the shadows, and I usually bring the shadows a little bit larger when I'm using that medium tone. And then I come in with a saturated, deeper color and just get in the very deep part of those shadows to add a little bit more depth. After I have the shadows put down, I do come back in with that medium tone and a little bit of that lighter tone too, and do another pass just to blend out those edges a little bit more and just to make them a little bit more smoother between the gradients, between the color changes. So I usually go back and forth a few times and just bump up those shadows. And in all the crevices where the light isn't hitting, imagining that my point of light here in this photo is in the top right corner, and so anything under the bottom left side is going to be where those shadows extend out from on the critter. I really like how this blue is looking, so I'm going to do some complementing speckles next on the dino as well. Once I get all of the shadows put in here, just doing another pass with the darker colors, I'm going to come in and do the decoration on the back of the dino, and then I'm going to pull those colors into the baby dino too. So I'm not going to use exactly the same colors, but a few of them, because I want the dino that's the baby to feel a little bit different. Usually babies don't have all of their pigmentation as deep or as pronounced as the adults. With animals in general, not really dinosaurs, I don't really know, but with animals in general, you do see that the babies are a little bit lighter in color. So I do want to keep the baby dino closer to the lighter blues, but I did keep the speckles the same just because there is the dad and the baby. So just keeping them in the same family. But to add a little bit of interest with the baby dino, I put in some more of the blue-green into his shadow as well. And so that's kind of complementing what's happening in the Distress ink blending in the background. So with the shadows on the baby dino, I'm going to do them as well, but not as pronounced. And I'm also going to bring in some darker blue-green colors just to help make the shadows look a little bit different, just to keep them a little bit separated so they don't look flat using exactly the same colors. And this will help offset the focal point a little bit too. I like to come in and just keep working up those shadows and blending. And once I have that all set, now I'm going to go back to the grass and just add my last layer. And this is more of a detail layer, so I want to put in a more pronounced grass blades, probably not as many. And I'm going to keep them closer to the subjects as well. So the darker part of the shadows are going to be as close to the subject, and then as it fades out, you're going to see more of the lighter grass background, less of that darker. So there's not too much more to add to this scene. I'm going to color the party hat and add a little bit of decoration, just some lines, some detail lines with a darker pinkish blue. And then to help pronounce the lava texture as well a little bit, just adding some deeper shadows there too with a really dark green, more like a forest green. Because these stamps are so cute and kind of childlike, I want to keep them nice and bubbly looking. So I'm going to come in with my Jelly Roll pen in the color white and just add some highlights. These almost make them look like balloon animals or really round, glossy, candy-like critters when you add the highlights. I really like the effect that this gives. And I don't use it on all stamps that I color, but I do like it, especially with Lawn Fawn stamps. Just the style seems to fit really well with that. So now I'm ready to start putting my card together, building it. I'm going to use some foam tape just to add a little bit more depth to the card because it is a single layer card background. So the foam tape I like to do around the edges and then just one piece in the center so that it adds a little bit of support in the middle and it doesn't push down or bow in the center when it's all together. I like to use my knife just to hold the card so I can get positioning and keep my fingers out of the way and really just eyeball the center placement where I think it would look good and just tack it down that way. I found that's the easiest instead of trying to hold it with my hands and line it up because I can never see all the edges equally otherwise. Pushing that into place, it's all set and my card is ready to go. So here's a look at the final product. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you're notified as I post more videos to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.